Okay, you're on.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. The first thing we need to do is approve the agenda.
It's Ryan Ruda, so moved.
Second it.
Jill, moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, next thing we need to do is approve the consent agenda.
This is Ryan Travigal, so moved.
Two addition.
Oh, the resignations.
Oh.
The two resignations that were added.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Kiefer Bieska and, say it correctly,
Darian.
Miss Mater,
Darian,
Darian Mater.
okay.
Sorry about that.
With the resignation of Kiefer and Darian Mater, I now would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Says Jill George, so moved.
Okay,
Second by Ryan Travigal.
all right. Moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Recognitions?
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, it's just happy as a clam to be back in school after our Christmas vacation. It's nice to have good length of time with family and friends, but to get back into the swing of things is always a exciting thing. Last week was a long week, having after the break, but wouldn't want to be anywhere else. So thrilled to be back. Second thing is this is National Board of Education Appreciation Month. So thus, you have in front of you a little something special from us. Thank you so much for all that you do. I realize you get a lot of pay for what you do here as a board member. Lots of zeros. But no, we are blessed to have 7 members who are civic-minded people just wanting to do, help us do a better job and serve our clientele. So thank you so much. I had an opportunity myself to serve as a board member, so I know how it is, how it goes. So you deal with really important work that down the road makes a huge difference in the livelihood and happiness of our kids. So thank you very, very much for all that you do. We don't thank you enough as it is. And the last item is just an example of we continue to work with our greater educational community. Ms. Novak was involved in a joint fundraiser with local vendor Good Sports. And they were able to generate almost $700 of money to be used at Wiley Elementary School. And so that's a celebration also. So it's really nice to always get the support from the community as we work to better serve the needs of our people. Sorry? Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to move to Mike and the financials.
Mike is not here tonight. He's home ill, but I'm prepared to talk to you about things.
Right.
On page 1, point out the purchases from Dell, $162,000 and then $41,000. That's the Spark monies that we pushed through last month for technology to better serve the needs of our remote students. Page 2, to point out their payment to High Plains of $130,698. No further things to point out as far as the warrants go for the district. I do want to mention, though, if you go back to page 6, the cash balances sitting there for capital outlay and the gift fund, and it's still, everything's very healthy where it needs to be. You'll see there's $17,000 down in food service. We're just waiting for the reimbursements from the state on that, so that's just a normal flow of money. And the last thing to really mention to you is something I look at quite often is page 8, and that is the percentage of funds available in each fund yet as we go through the year. And you'll see we have 53% left in the general fund, and that's good. That's right where we need to be. A little better than what we need to be. And 78% in the capital outlay. So as far as the warrants go, we're presenting a $519,290 bill. But if I can answer any questions you might have about individual purchases, I would do my best.
there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the financials at $519,290.67.
So moved.
Ryan Ruda,
Second.
Ryan Schreiber, moved and seconded to approve the financials. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, no public patron concerns. Administrative reports, Dr. Myers.
All righty, a couple things to tell you about. The vaccine is on its way. We here in Holcomb, and well, in the educational community, are part of Phase 2. It's set for the educational, people employed by USD 363, regardless of the position, even superintendents, are set to receive the vaccine as Phase 2, following the high priority healthcare and long-term care personnel. They're looking, as we speak, at doing these on-site. So they're actually thinking about coming to Holcomb to provide this opportunity for the vaccine. Now, other things have to happen in order for that to occur, but that's where the County Health is gearing toward. That's what they'd like to do. And for those who are keeping track of this kind of thing, we're geared to get the Moderna vaccine, is what we're supposed to be receiving. So vaccine's on its way, and we are part of Phase 2. Something also related to all the COVID stuff is the ESSERA 2, or you could call it CARES 2, money has been allotted. And so we have additional money in USD 363 to utilize, almost $600,000. We have till September of 23 to expend that. So September of 23, so there's no rush. And of course, there's 15 acceptable uses on what we can use those monies for. If you'll recall, this is not the Spark money that we just talked about with the Dell purchase. This is the money that we utilized last June, I think it was, and we brought on the dedicated remote teacher and the 4 homebound instructional liaisons. So it was that sort of money. Well, that's what this is, just it's a little bit more. And so we're pulling together plans now as we speak as to where we think it'd be best utilized to serve our people through all of this. Important for you to know that calendar work is on its way. Matt, I need to talk with you about what day of the week is best for you as the board representative on the calendar committee. You got it. You will be pleased to know that last year we went ahead and did 2 years with the calendars. So in reality, the calendar for next year is in the books. It's ready. We've got one built on the 5 days going back into the calendar and one that mirrors this year. So we're ready to go. But we'll come back together. We'll build one for the next year as well, one that's corresponding with this year and one that puts the 5 days back in for 22 and 23. So it'll always be 2 years out, so we don't have to hurry up and rush around and try to get it done on time. And then, of course, I will continue on my quest to work with a balanced schedule, because someday, somewhere, people are going to say, that's a good idea. Right, Mr. Schreibvogel? So the calendar committee is coming together soon, and we will, I think by policy, we have to bring a proposed calendar to the board by April, and we're in really good stead to get that done. So the last item to mention to you, remote learners. This has to do with COVID as well. If you recall, we made the decision as a district to provide opportunities for families if they wanted to be remote from the school, they could do so. And then, of course, we paid real close attention how things were going with them, and some we called up and said, we really need to get going better on this, and or maybe this is not the best learning venue for you. You might need to come back. And so now where we're sitting, as we started into semester 2, we have 21 high school students, 3 at the middle school, 9 at Holcomb Elementary, and 1 at Wiley. So it's a grand total of 34 remote students. Last semester we had 41. So we had several come back. Now, it's really an interesting thing because like at the high school, we had 9 come back, but then 8 went. And because we're trying to make this so it best fits the needs of the families, that's where it just happened to work out that way around. But I wanted to mention to you that we're still moving along with our remote learners and doing the absolute best we can to make sure it fits their educational needs, because frankly, that particular form of learning might not be the best for everybody. And so we are, as a matter of fact, I think I mentioned this last month, long term, I would like to see remote learning be a piece of what we offer, but we're trying to figure out what are the characteristics, what has to be in place for the right kind of teacher to be in that realm, and also for the families and the students themselves. So it's pretty heady intellectual work to figure out what makes it work with one family versus another family. And like I shared with you before, truly, at the age of 16, no way in the world could I personally have been successful in that. My wife, on the other hand, age of 16, not a problem. Not a problem at all. So we are really trying to learn and make the best options available to everybody so that they are successful. So that is my report.
Thank you, sir. We will move to buildings. Tom? Any questions for Tom? Okay, grounds?
Nothing further, it's all in my report.
Questions for Lance? Okay, transportation?
Our vans have been delivered to Wichita. The gentleman in charge of fleet sales has been gone all last week, so he called me today, and they are ready to go. So I just need to go with Dr. Myers and personnel and find out how we can go get them. Working with Mersman on decals or wraps or stickers, seeing what we can do there. I just checked on our small bus, and it's gonna sell on the 26th from Purple Wave, and we're up to 3,800.
Honestly and truly, today, Sam, I had a conversation with someone local and here. We might be utilizing that bus. We'll see for something. I'll talk to you. That's kind of a surprise. You haven't heard that from me till just this moment. Hadn't had a conversation with someone today. We may have a good use for it. Yeah, we just don't have to sell it. We just choose not to sell it if that's what happens. We'll talk. We'll talk.
I think Sam wants to get rid of that bus.
I'm not talking as a route bus, Mr. Mesa. I'm not talking about that at all.
Okay. Thanks, Sam. All right, we'll move to food services. Okay, thank you. Mr. Ackerman, technology.
Nothing further.
Okay, we'll move to principals and Mrs. Novak.
Okay, I would like to bring up, I try to bring up every month. Last time I talked to you about our Parents as Teachers program, we had 4 children in the program. Carrie's done a really good job at recruiting. She is up to 9 now with 2 on hold. So we would add 4 more children, and that would put her up to 13 children and 11 families, and that's pretty much max.
That's
So
good.
she's done a fantastic job. She's very good at recruiting, and she does a good job with the program. So also I'd like to bring up that we met last week. The PAT grant is up for renewal. Last year it was easy because of COVID. All we had to do was resubmit what we had the year before. This year we have to go through the whole process. So we're meeting. Carrie and I meet, and we're going through the process. Our KPP grant, which is our 3-year-old grant, is due in February, so Donna and I are on that. And the 4-year-old program with Heather Hubbard, she's always taken care of that. We've had that program for well over 12 years. I'm sure it's more than that. But they've changed the venue that we used to send the grant in with, and we've had to do some webinar work and learn how to use that. But we're on it, and we have the 4-year-old and the PAT grants due in April, the KPP grants due in February. So we'll be on that and get that finished.
All right, thanks. Mrs. Tyne.
I just wanted to add to my report that this week we will be having our spelling bee. The Finney County Spelling Bee has been canceled, so the students won't necessarily have the option to go on, but we thought it would still be important to hold our spelling bee, our local spelling bee. So we've worked around trying to make sure we stay within the guidelines of the plan that we have here at Holcomb at level 4. And so there have been, just some new things to work out with that, but we are lucky enough to have Mrs. Sullivan coming down to help us with streaming so that we are able to provide a live version of that for our parents. and also for our kids in the classrooms, because of course we won't gather them all in the gym. They will be able to watch from their classrooms, though, watch their classmates in the spelling bee. So we've also had 3 of our students that are in remote learning that have made it to the spelling bee. So we're also trying to figure out how to get them to Zoom in and participate, and we'll have them projected in the gymnasium so we can see them as well. So lots of new things for us to figure out with the spelling bee this year, but hopefully it'll all go off without a hitch and everything will be good. So that is on Thursday at 9 o'clock. And as soon as I get that link, I will be sending that out for the parents to see.
All right, thank you. Mr. Helton.
Thank you. 2 things to add to my report that were not in there. One is this Friday in morning homerooms. The students and their homeroom teachers will go through some crisis scenarios with COVID. Sometimes crisis drills and stuff has been put toward the back with the other thing on the front burner. So they're going to take some time to not physically act them out, but to walk through some scenarios, review where our crisis evacuation site is, things like that. So that'll be good to do. They'll be doing that Friday with their homeroom kid. Teachers do that with their homeroom kids. And then the other thing to add, by the time we meet next time in February, our 6th and 7th graders will get the first look at elective options for next year. The state offers somewhere between 80 and 110 electives for middle school kids. We're going to take 10 to 12 that we've kind of straw polled that they're interested in, and we'll see if we can get them, we'll let them vote on not what they're going to take, but what they'd be interested in taking, and then see if we can match those up with teachers with a similar interest. So those are my 2 additions to my report.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. I have one announcement and then one kind of add-on. We will not have a pep band tomorrow night due to the fact that a large amount of our band is also in bowling. And bowling has their opening meet tomorrow. Out of the 24 that are going to bowling, I think 16 of them are in the band. So they tried practicing today without those 16. When you're missing certain parts, it doesn't sound as well. But I do give props to Mr. Eust Friday night. That's probably the best the band has sounded. It was, they added in 3 or 4 more songs. An old Rob Thomas Matchbox 20 song from the 90s that I was actually singing to, but it's a good thing I had a mask on so no one could hear me. Then the other thing I want to add is last Monday, during our professional development day, our staff worked on developing a success skills rubric, and we worked on 5 different areas that we think our students have the most need in. And so as we get that a little bit more polished in the next coming month or 2, we will then share that with you guys so that you can know that that's one area where we're going to start observing our students and having teachers kind of grade their students on things like work ethic, respect, accountability, time management, responsible decision making are some of the things we're looking at. And then add that into how we overall give a picture to parents about where their students are at. So kind of moving down that road, but we're not quite there. But that was a great deal on Monday we worked on. So hopefully we can share out a more polished product for you the next couple months. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, we've got the rec minutes, the service center minutes, High Plains.
Yeah, on the High Plains meeting, they basically talked about 3 things that I'd like to bring up to you tonight. They're working on the maintenance of effort. That's a federal report where basically it says you have to spend the same amount of money you spent the previous year on special education unless it's one of the approvable reasons. Well, they're in the process of gathering that material from the 16, 17 members of our consortium. So that's in process. The corrective action plan, if you recall, last year, High Plains Educational Co-op was put on corrective action because we had too many students identified for other health issues, and it's been approved by the KSDE now. So now that's being implemented. And the final thing is they've turned in the justification for the 1% if we have more than 1% of our students taking the DLM, which is the special tests for the state assessments. That's been turned in. So everything is going down the path that's supposed to be going with High Plains.
All right, let's move to unfinished business and KASB policy recommendations.
All right, as you're aware, twice a year, the Kansas Association of School Boards puts out recommended policy adjustments and/or deletions or brand new revisions or brand new policies. This is the first read. I'll be asking you to take action for having approved the first read. And then next month is when we take action on whether the board would like to actually adopt and put these policies into our policy book. Okay? In Grants, you've got a synopsis of each one of these, but I will tell you the general theme that is going on within these adjustments are health, of course. There are 5 policy revisions, 1 form revision, and a couple of deletions of changes of forms. So the attitude of health as it's tied to COVID, of course, specifically giving the superintendent the opportunity or the authority to cancel school because of health concerns, versus previously that was just never in there. You could have it for snow or fire or anhydrous leak or whatever, but now health concerns is being added in language. Also, using the local health official helping to determine when employees and then also students are able to come back due to a pandemic. It doesn't say COVID in particular because COVID will eventually go away, I believe, I hope. But the health official will be in our policy book to help us with when we bring people back. One other category of adjustment is within gang language. It used to be gang intimidation, and it was tied more to what people were wearing and whatnot. And they said, well, that's almost stereotypical. So rather than that, it's behavior, what certain behaviors are taking place. And so they've provided some language for that. Then they've got one last thing of merit is when a student who's 16 or 17 wants to drop out of school, he or she has to go through a counseling session with someone at the high school, be it the principal, the counselor, or whomever, where we go through flat out, here's what your projected earnings will be if you are a high school dropout. Here's what your projected earnings will be if you have a GED. Here's what all the way up through if you have a doctorate. And so they've adjusted that form just to make it more pertinent to today, I guess. So that's the first read of these materials. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. But you will see these again next month for the final action. I would recommend that you approve this as your first read this month.
Dr. Meyer, I have a question. On the adding the local health officer, I believe I read in there it states along with the physician, right? Or the physician, the family's physician, right? We're not saying the
Right.
health
Yeah,
officer has to sign off on it, right?
Correct.
Okay.
You're talking about specifically with the kids, the students?
Yeah, or teachers coming back or
Right.
staff, yeah. So it's not, they have to sign off, it's just they can.
They
sign
can,
off.
right.
Okay,
Because previously it was just all about the physician.
yeah.
So.
If nobody has any
I'll make a
further.
motion to approve the first read on these policies.
Okay, Ryan Ruda.
Jill George, I second it.
Okay. Moved and seconded to approve the first reading of the KASB proposed policy adjustments. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, capital outlay projects.
All righty. I think last month I talked to you about, we're to the point now, we're ready to tackle the next set of capital outlay projects. And so we've been working diligently to get information for you and somewhat give you not a formal proposal, but tell you which direction I'd like to head with this and or get feedback from you, okay? So the various projects that were up in discussion where we gathered information for you, the baseball field fence, which is just flat out falling down, the farm project update, this is not in any particular order, by the way, I'm just reading because I have them written on my piece of paper, main gym bleachers replacement, the track, the playgrounds at all three, at the 2 elementaries plus it'd be a new playground we'd put in at the preschool, and then a concession stand field house. I did not gather information on that because it just fell off the table as far as it's just not as important as the other items. So I would tell you right up front, I think we need to do the baseball field fence project. It's projected at about $44,000. In fact, I'm planning on moving forward on a bidding process and get it out there so we can take action on it next month. It just needs to be done. You know, it's being held together with baling wire and duct tape at this point, so we need to adjust that. Now, information about all the other projects, okay? And you put them together in the eye of the beholder. And I've asked Tom to step to the mic because he has a lot of knowledge about all this stuff as well. And we've been talking to lots of different vendors about a lot of different aspects of this, okay? So let's just start with farm project update. We have preliminary bids from Morton at $240, but that's just the structure, nothing interior. So that would go up. So from Morton. And then from Wick, we have one that comes in at $395,000. But that's everything. That's stamped, electrical, everything. So this is not an inexpensive project. I think it's an excellent project for academics and for project-based learning and individualization, but it is not, all these are not inexpensive. But it all depends on where we want to go with it. So that's the farm project update. And if you recall, the bid law in Kansas is $20,000, so anything that's north of 20, we'd have to go through the bid process, okay? Also, one last thing to tell you, we've got the funds to move forward as we speak for the baseball field fence and for maybe one of the playgrounds. We'll talk about that here in a little bit, because we've got like $250,000 still readily available that keeps us under our revenue amount this year on capital outlay. So my goal every year is to go into the next year having spent fewer dollars than what we've generated, okay? Anything else, it's going to be a multiple-year project. So this is a 3-year plan probably. So that's the farm. The main gyms in the bleacher, depending on what you want, would run anywhere from $184,000 to $400,000 and everywhere in between. I personally don't think it's a good idea to buy cheap materials when it's utilized as often as it is. But I don't know if we want $400,000 worth of really nice bleachers. And the difference on this has to do with the automatic nature of it and the backings and the seats and whatnot. And as we go through these, Tom, just fill in if you want to anywhere.
The seats on there, we can go any way we want to. We can do all bench. We can do like the automatic seats. They go up and down as you go in and out with them. We can put armrest on them. Then we're getting up to $400,000. The cheapest version would be $189. That'd be just a bench seat with the back, and that's it. That's both sides. And he's supposed to come up, not this week, but the next week, and get with Jerry and Jason and I and go through, see what we actually want. And then he'll give us a right on the money figure. Them bleachers up there were put in 11 of 82. So they're old. So,
And loud. When
Yeah.
the kids jump. Boom.
yeah. The new ones would be nice, but, you know.
Okay, then the track. What I'm probably going to be recommending to you is to patch it immediately for $14,000. And just get us by for a couple of years and build up the coffers, because when we finally do strip it all the way down to concrete and start over, we're talking $800,000. And then at that time, if we decide to do that, if there's interest in turfing the football field, that's when you do it. So if there's interest in that, we're talking 2 to 3 years from now, and that also is an additional $800,000. We've not bid that by any means, but think the prudent move forward is, because we don't want people tripping on it, is we stopgap it for this year, maybe next year even, as we build the coffers and we address these other projects perhaps. The playgrounds, we have 3 different playgrounds. Nothing says we have to do them all at once. We can do them one at a time. Through Dina's hard work, we've found, in Lance's hard work, we've found a group, well, through the KDHE rather, we can get a 50% grant to help us with this. And so if we were to just do, well, all of them, that'd be $394,000. I'm not going to recommend that. I'd be recommending that we do probably the Wiley playground and maybe the preschool one, and then come back later and do the Holcomb one. But the playground preliminary bid we have right now on the Wiley Elementary one is $160. So if we were to get the grant, and Dina's working on the grant as we speak, that'd be $80,000 out of pocket. That's what that'd be.
Recap for me there exactly what's entailed in that.
It would be digging out all the stuff that's in there now and bringing back a soft, spongy surface. It would not be one stick of new equipment at all. So that's something and also come to find out, correct me if I'm wrong, Lance, they said we don't have to remove the equipment in order to do the project. He's saying the word no, so we don't have to do that. All right, so we'd be able to dig around it, and we come back with, I don't know if you guys ever been on these spongy, rubbery surfaces. This is reclaimed rubber. They've meshed it down and made it magically soft. And so the whole idea is to help with the falls. Back the older people in this room, myself, we fell on sand and pebbles. We fell on stickers, yeah, and goat heads. Had all sorts of issues. Well, we're trying to not have that anymore. So we could not do them at all, do them all three at once, do two of them, whatever. If we were to just say, hey, let's chip away at all these different things, what I would probably recommend, just off the top of my head and talking with Tom earlier, I'd say let's take care of the baseball fence, take care of one of the playgrounds, and then make a decision in the next couple of months, on which one of the major projects to take on for next year, be it the farm or the bleachers or, well, like I said, I would just patch the track at this point. So, that's on the playgrounds. Anything else to add at all, Tom? All this stuff?
These figures that he's giving you on the farm, that's a 54 by 96 with a lean. I know that's what she wants, but we can go smaller. And sorry, Jason, won't you tell her I said this? She'll have my hit out. I mean, we're talking just a building through Wick is $198,000 and 240 through Morton. Morton does provide their own stamp plans. The, what's the name of that one up in Dodge? Connet?
Oh, Connet, yeah.
Connet. They have to go to an architect and get their own stamp plans through an architect, which is $9,000. Then you add all the other stuff in there. And we're talking, I think she has 7 outer bays like a horse stall. So, I mean, it's pretty fancy. EP'd inside, part of it. It's got the hanging bat insulation with the steel liner. And that's with heaters and everything, But you could go smaller if you guys really want a farm. I don't know what she plans on doing in there. I haven't really asked her, but.
So really, as far as tonight goes, what I'm setting in, because we could every month come back and talk more, right? I get tired of doing that. Let's just move. What I'm planning on doing is following up the next week or two, start the bid process on the baseball field fences and the bid process on the playgrounds, and then hone in yet again, maybe by the March meeting, say we're going this way. It's going to be the farm, or it's going to be the bleachers, or whatever it's going to be, because then that gets us to next year's money. We generate around $500,000 a year in capital outlay. We're sitting on 1.8 right now, but once again, my goal always is to spend less than our revenue. So we could chip into that if you'd like, but in my opinion, it's best not to touch the nut until you have to. Until you have to go back in to get it. So.
So we don't have any idea on the fence, kind of cost-wise?
44,000. Yeah. And now, once again, Casey, I mean, that's preliminary bids from two different groups. I think one was 42, one was 44. We'll see what comes through when we finally go through the bid process, but it'll be in that, because the fact that we will say, hey, we've got this from this group and this from this group, what can you do for us? And once again, just because we go through the bid process, we always put on there, the board has the right to reject any and all bids. So just because we do this doesn't mean you're hooked. Doesn't mean that at all. Also, we always put in there the best bid. That doesn't particularly mean the cheapest bid. Because if we've worked with groups who I don't think I'd work with again because they were hard to get to do their work. And even if it's cheapest, that doesn't make it best. And so we're not locked in. We have we've done this enough. We'll write it in such a manner that the board can say, yeah, no, I don't think so. Or let's go with that one, even though it's more expensive than that one. So what I'm looking to do is come back with bids, go through the bid process for the fencing and for some aspect of the elementary playgrounds. Some piece of the element, just to get it going.
Are you planning on the bid process with playgrounds there to be able to bid those out separately?
Yeah, I think we'll put it out there. We'll say, here's the whole enchilada and give us these options.
Yeah.
Option A, B, and C.
Yep.
And then, once again, we'll have the freedoms to pick and choose. And the good thing is the grant, there's 2 different grant periods coming up. One is due the 15th, that's right, right around tomorrow. But then there's another one in May. And so we don't have to hurry up and get this done. And we can submit the grants, by the way, and sit on it because the money needs to be spent by next April. So it all lines up for us. We just have to, let's just go down the alley. One other thing, because last month we were talking about the gym floor. Come to find out, the gym floor was replaced in 2008, and it's been sanded once. So there is more sanding that can be done on that. So I know there's real concern about, what about the gym floor? We're good there for a while. So, but I see us getting options, Ryan, on the playgrounds.
Good.
All right, if there's no more questions, we'll move to new business and resolution for election of president and vice president and setting of meetings.
Okay, several years back, when they changed, when the new members actually came on board, it used to be all new members came on in July. Now, Mr. Shrivogel, you joined us in January last year. And so with that, the adjustment was made to giving options to boards when to hold your elections and also when to set your dates. Historically, what this board has done is chosen to just do it in July. So you've got two resolutions to consider, and we'll take these one at a time. One has to do with the election of board officers, school board officers. It reads, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but just so you can see which sheet of paper we're looking at. It says, the one that says, be it resolved that the Board of Education will elect its school board president and vice president. It's the fourth paragraph down, so we're looking at the same piece of paper. Be it resolved that the Board of Education, blah, 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 will elect its school board president and vice president. That's the resolution I'd like to address first. I personally would just as soon keep the elections in July. So my recommendation to you would be, it says choose one. It says the first one is at the first meeting on or after the second Monday in January, or the second one at its first meeting of the Board of Education in, it would be July of this year, it would be 21. So I would recommend that we keep going as we've been doing it. That's in July to elect the president and vice president. In my opinion on this is, I don't see any reason to change captains midstream. That's my thinking is why Scott, why do you want to keep it that way? Because we've gone through half a year already. Let's keep it going that way. So that's my recommendation. But we need to pass that resolution, or if the board wants to go the other way, then we'd have an election if you want to do that. If you're prepared to give speeches.
We have to read this resolution in its entirety?
Yes, sir. Here we go. That's why we have National Board Appreciation Month.
Yeah. All right, Mr. President, I move the adoption of the following resolution, whereas KSA 72-1133 requires boards of education to elect the board president and vice president at the first meeting on or after the second Monday in January of each year, or at a later date during the calendar year if so determined by the board at that first meeting. Whereas Unified School District Number 363, Finney County, Kansas, must act each year on or after the second Monday in January or at a later meeting date during the calendar year to establish when it will elect its president and vice president. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of Unified School District Number 363, Finney County, Kansas, will elect its school board president and vice president at its first meeting of the Board of Education in July 2021.
That's it.
Second it.
Okay, Ryan, Ruda, and Jill George. Moved and seconded to adopt the resolution that Ryan just read. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Oh, wow.
Okay, second resolution has to do with when the meetings take place. So once again, I stand firm to keep in July, that the board makes the choices. The meetings take place on the second Monday, or whenever you want to do them. Nothing says it has to be the second Monday, by the way. Most districts do them on the second Monday. I know some who do them on Wednesdays, though, just for giggle's sake. And if you'll recall, this year, we went to the 7 o'clock. In the winter months, we went to 6 o'clock. And so, but anyway, for tonight, the resolution would be we'll do all this in July. So I'd recommend that you keep the setting of the meeting times and dates in July. It takes a resolution to make that happen.
I'll make a motion to choose our meeting times and dates at our July meeting.
Okay,
Second it.
okay, so Casey and Jill. It's been moved and seconded to adopt the second resolution to keep our meetings in second Monday of
July.
July. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. On to executive session. We're-
20 minutes if you want it, 15 if you think you can do it in 15.
All right.
Oh, okay.
We got some too. All right, what do we go, how about we go into executive session at, let's say, what even time is it? At 6:50 for 20 minutes
Sure,
to include Dr. Myers,
that's it.
and that's it.
So moved.
Jill,
Second.
Ryan Schreiber, moved and seconded to go into executive session at 6:50 for 20 minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Well, I got Lee coming out tomorrow, then some guy out. Anyway, got the ball rolling again. I've been working with Christina. He said he's going to drive back. Yeah, well, she gave us the Echo bid, and then the place that bids it will write the grant. Basically, fills out all the information from that company. She goes, and I said, so what do I need to do to get this done? So she sent me the grant, and she said, fill in the things that I did not fill in. So I started with that. I sent it 3 times. And I filled out, and I went to the sheriff's gift. And then I did the wastewater, these are the people. Put it in a file, and then I started on the elementary. And in the meantime, I'm sending this to Dr. Myers. Is it $125,000? And plus, we don't have to go.
The only thing we've got to make sure of is
Yeah, they basically took all the furniture from downstairs and did
Before
it.
they said that was a separate cost.
Okay, we are back in session. I need a motion to approve the hiring of Nancy Russell as a full-time custodian at Holcomb High School.
Ryan Ruda, so moved.
Second.
Ryan Schreiber moved and seconded to hire Nancy Russell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to hire Jessica Delgado as a part-time custodian at Holcomb Elementary School.
So moved.
Ryan Schreiber,
Second.
Ryan Ruda. Moved and seconded to hire Jessica Delgado. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? I need a motion to approve the supplementals as presented.
So moved.
Ryan Schreiber. Jill? Been moved and seconded to approve the supplementals as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to extend the contract by 1 year of Dr. Myers with a 7.14% increase on salary and an increase of $100 a month on his 403B.
Approved.
Ryan Ruda,
Second.
Ron Schreiber. Moved and seconded to do what we do on Dr. Myers' salary and benefits. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Jill? Casey? Moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's that, as they say. Over and